Jesus, this tea is hot.
Yeah, I like it hot.
Quiet, please.
I usually make mine with water. What do you use? Is this fucking plasma?
Yes, I have a plasma setting.
All right, in 4, 3, 2.
The Alpha Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense episode number 10. I'm Jeff Parker.
And I'm CJ Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time we'll look at the history of removable media. Is that really what we're talking about?
Yep.
Bold glamour in a post-reality world.
Check.
How are we, or are we really not, saving time every year? Mm-hmm. How's your week going?
Well, until we got to this recording session.
What happened? Where did
we
derail?
I looked at the list of what we're talking about, and I'm like, well, we made it 10 episodes.
Removable media, huh?
Yeah, exciting.
That captured your imagination this week.
It's so intriguing because it's like media that you can take with you.
Did you happen to see on Netflix this week the Chris Rock live special?
No, that's the one where he just gets punched a whole bunch?
He actually talks about the punch thing. And kind of an interesting thing, he can't really work that material in front of an audience before the special because, of course, the word would leak out.
Yeah. Did you do a good job?
It was funny. It was really funny. I'm super excited about something.
Oh, boy.
I saw this on advertised on Apple TV.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Apple TV
Yeah,
Plus.
I'm super excited about this, too.
And I just thought, oh, this is just going to be awful. They're making a movie about Tetris. What's it going to be
so
about?
good.
The blocks and how they fall or whatever.
The blocks.
I mean, I thought it was going to be one of these things where like we're in the game and
It's five episodes. Each one's a different block. Today it's going to be the long 4-block one. That's all it is for an hour. Us just talking about the long.
It's the story of how Tetris came to America and the crazy, all the
behind the Iron Curtain, how they got it out. Yeah,
I mean, it looks really cool.
It looks super cool.
And I don't mean to be like Apple TV's biggest promoter. Like I swear, I keep mentioning on this podcast all the great stuff that they're putting out, but this looks really good.
No, it looks great. It really does look great.
Okay, let's get to our headlines. The Biden administration wants to hold companies liable for bad cybersecurity.
This is a great idea.
Tell me why.
Why should you be liable for that, right? I mean,
anyone who's trying to keep the computer secure so that somebody can't hack into it is fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
Anyone who's encrypting data on the machine, that will work every time. I've said this before. Yep. The government is not going to want all of these things strongly encrypted because they like to be able to
read them.
Right. They like to be able to see them.
I do think you need to hold these folks liable for this.
The Taiwanese government will pay you to vacation in Taiwan. Animals who are about to be eaten have to sleep with one eye open because they're about
to be eaten.
About to be eaten, right. That's Taiwan. They know, know that the communist government of China wants to eat them quickly. And they have really good reason to want to do that because all the latest and greatest chips are made in Taiwan. There's no alternative. Yeah. And so when the U.S. stops them from getting certain chips from Taiwan or getting their own equipment to be able to make those super advanced chips, Taiwan becomes even more valuable.
Absolutely.
So the Taiwanese government, in order to bolster support, is paying people to come to Taiwan as a vacation destination.
Sure.
It's literally to get their tourism numbers back up, but everything Taiwan does, you have to look at in the fact that they want friends. They want to be loved by the West so that they can get defense against the Chinese.
Sure.
All I can say is to the people in Arizona who are constructing the plant, the new Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing plant, please put your head down and work faster.
Yeah, hurry the fuck up.
Yeah, this is super important.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're all going to have to go back to texting on flip phones. Nobody wants that.
Or not have state-of-the-art defense systems, sure.
Remember, you have to press the 9 key 6 times to get a Z?
Sure.
Nobody wants that.
The Justice Department wants Sam Bankman-Fried to start using a flip phone.
Yeah, how's he going to text emojis? How's he going to text rocket ship and stock chart?
Well, you think it's a lot of keys to get the letter P.
You got to go through all the Unicode.
Wait till you go through the entire Unicode.
Fucking Unicode 165. right. But here's the deal. There's no left button. So if you go past it, you got to go all the way around. You're fucking right. And that's how I got carpal thumb.
He's going to have the Popeye arm.
No, the Popeye thumb.
The Popeye on his thumb.
Just a huge
enormous thumb muscle.
Elephantitis thumbinosis.
Would you get on a flight if there was no pilot aboard?
I know what you mean by asking this. I quite like
It was a cover story on Sunday's Forbes daily cover.
Can there be a little robot that still gives me a tour of the cockpit?
I'm sure there can be anything you like.
AI flight has got to be 1 or 2 orders of magnitude easier than AI cars.
Oh, 100%.
You got a Z-axis and all that shit up there. You can fly around
You've got turbulence. That's the big thing is you don't really know if the air is going to hold you up in the air from moment to moment. But other than that, it's terrific.
I think I would do this.
Much simpler.
I mean, I don't want to see it obviously fleshed out a little bit. I want to be the first guy.
Well, you're not going to be the first guy because they're going to do cargo. But what they're saying is this is going to be happening faster than you think. The pilots' unions are even bracing for this to happen.
I mean, it's interesting, though, because it's still only going to be as good as its sensors. And there have been a couple really gnarly air disasters when sensors have failed.
Yeah, you're going to have way more redundancy.
So you would hope there's way more redundancy.
Yeah.
Because I'm so impressed with how good the cars are already.
Not all the cars. The Waymo cars are incredible.
Because those are so good. I feel like you could put that into a plane, teach it a couple lessons, and then I'd be fine with it. Because I think it's such an easier problem to solve.
It's a much easier problem to solve, for sure. It's like the trucks that are driving down the freeways in Nevada that are being driven by AI. It's much easier to do freeway miles than it is to do surface street miles. Of course.
Does it still stop at the rest area?
Yes.
Pick up some AI hookers.
So this brings us to a non-AI flight question, and I really don't want this show to turn into...
It already has. AI in flight. You can talk about one or the other.
I don't want it to turn into the airline channel.
Totally.
Whatever this is.
Frequent flyer miles. We're the points guys.
This passenger, you had to see this, who threatens to kill every man on the plane and then proceeds to go stabbing an attendant with a broken spoon.
Where is this? Did this actually happen?
This actually happened on a United flight this week.
What?
But let me broaden this out generally. If you haven't heard the specific story, you'll survive if you haven't heard. Whatever. Why are people behaving suddenly so badly on planes, or are we just for the first time hearing it because everyone has cell phones and we can see video of it?
Well, I think there's definitely something to be true about the latter bit.
Have people always been crazy on planes? I don't remember it being this crazy.
Oh, people have always been pretty crazy on planes. Maybe not stab you with a broken spoon crazy, but still pretty crazy.
He was trying to open the door to the plane. The exit door, the emergency.
Oh, he's trying to get out.
Yes. And he literally had like partially
on the ground.
It's like no, they're 30 minutes from landing in Boston.
Well, they don't, when they're pressurized, they don't open.
Of course not.
What's crazy to me about that, I did not know about this story. I have to read about this. My assumption has been, especially since 9/11, that you've got people on the plane like me, forget about the air marshals, people like me that are just itching to tackle somebody.
And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
There's going to be 3 dudes. I'll be at the front of the pile being like, dude, you are going to sleep now.
I think this might have been more than 3, but yes, that's exactly. And they hogtied him with their belts and zip ties and the whole thing. They subdued this guy until they landed.
Yeah.
United Airlines made a statement where they said they have zero tolerance for any type of violence on our flights.
For sure.
It doesn't seem like, the most obvious thing to say. We have some tolerance for it. Yeah, there's some things we can definitely tolerate, but not this.
Are you in the violence class? Are you seeing the violence class? The light violence or the heavy violence?
Are people more upset because they no longer get free peanuts?
And there's this old meme that Ryanair, you know Ryanair?
No.
They are like the shittiest of airlines.
Literally a guy named Ryan who's got a plane.
This was such a great meme that they put a coin op on the bathroom door. And people believed it. They're just like, of course Ryanair would do that. And then the best part is you just give them like all free soda. You give everybody free soda, and then you just be like, all right, well, you got to pee. It's $12.
We'll give you a lot of free soda.
Totally. Just keep giving it to you. Tea's a diuretic. Drink as much of that as you possibly can. Keep going. I mean, going back 15, 20 years, I've seen people escorted off planes that have been absolutely fucking terrible.
Really?
Some of them drunk, some of them not.
I don't think I've ever seen this in my life.
I've only had a plane land once to have somebody removed.
I've never been on a plane that's landed to get somebody removed.
The real answer here is there's just a bunch of people that are just terrible. Like, I'm not even sure it's a bell curve. Humans. They're just terrible humans. Yeah. And then you put them in a small space where they have to try to be civil.
Right.
And you get to see the real them.
Have we dialed up the anger level by pushing the seats too close together?
It hasn't helped. Let's go to extremes on this. If you put the seats on top of each other, like literally on top of each other,
they're close.
There's going to be more of that. If you put the seats 10 feet away, there's probably going to be less.
People have this thing that they can put into the seat in front of you.
I will murder that motherfucker with my hands. Yes. I will choke him with my hands.
So that you can't lean the seat back.
Yeah. So I've never had this happen to me.
Yeah.
When it does happen, there will be fisticuffs. Because the argument
You're going to stab him with a broken spoon 3 times?
I'm going to take off that fucking seat recline thing, sharpen it to a point, and shank him with it. I'm not going to waste a spoon and keep the fucking spoon.
Because you need the spoon.
So I've read about this
so you can eat the peanuts you paid for.
I am fired up now.
Okay.
Let me tell you. I've read about this. So the argument that these, I want to say people, but really assholes is the word I think we should use.
Okay.
That they make is that, well, okay, you're invading my space.
Right.
Therefore, I can clip this thing on. And for our listeners who don't know why I'm so excited right now, it's like a little thing that you can buy that you clip on the seat in front of you.
It keeps it from reclining.
The seat from reclining.
Yeah.
So it basically locks the seat in front of you in an upright
position. I never
position.
recline my seat just because I don't want to piss off the people behind me, and I'll survive the flight.
I am always trying to be super gracious. I try to make sure they're not doing stuff.
Yes.
If there's somebody behind me like using a laptop, for the most part, unless I'm super exhausted, I won't recline. Like, I try to be a decent human.
Yeah.
But that 3 degrees of pitch can make a real difference in my life. So I want to use it, right? I paid the same $86 to fly to fucking Albuquerque that you did.
Gravity is more your friend if you're slightly leaning back than if you're sitting.
That's true. So they clip these things on, and the argument is, well, okay, this is my space.
By the way, they can lean back too.
Let me say it another way, Jeff.
Yes, put it another way.
If I'm on a flight, we're flying from LAX to Sydney, right? And we're in economy. And the guy behind me clips on.
I've never been to Australia.
The seats are upside down. Let's just say, hypothetically, I'm board my flight in LAX. I get on, and we're in the air, and the dude behind me clips on the thing
as you're going
from
to
reclining.
Yeah.
And I get up and turn around, and it's the fucking Rock.
Yeah.
I'm still going to fight him to the death to get those off. I'm taking those
off. Punch in his face.
I would basically use the Louis C.K. line of saying, look, I'm taking those off. That's what happens next. You get to decide if we're in the newspaper or not. That's actually what I would say. That would probably be my line.
So you would fly in the plane that has AI flying the plane, right?
Unless that AI clipped the little seat thing on the back of my seat, and then I beat the fuck out of the AI.
And then the AI would just get pulverized.
I would just get a
with
stick.
Your bare fist.
I would find it.
You know, Ford has filed a patent this last week that for a system that can remotely repossess your car if you're late on payments.
That was a left turn right there.
This story is kind of amazing. It's a patent filed by Ford, and they can literally turn off your air conditioning and turn off your radio. If you need to, still for an emergency, get to a hospital, it'll allow you to still go to the hospital, but it can turn you off from driving other places if you miss your payments.
So Ford basically filed a patent for Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Pretty much.
That's
also
impressive. Why turn the car off? Why not just have it drive you to the local bank so you can take money out and give it to Ford?
The doors suddenly lock.
Takes you to the Ford dealership.
You go to the bank, and then it drives you. Yes.
Yeah. The glove box opens. There's a little mask that comes out and a little toy gun.
Sure.
And you just go in, you get the money.
Get a little money.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what bank it is. You just go in, you get the money, you come back, you put it in a little slot, and you're done. So I saw this come up this week.
Yeah.
EasyJet and Finnair.
Finnair, I can guess where it came from. EasyJet? What, is there a country of easy?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Let me tell you, you want to get laid, go to Easy. That's why.
Wow.
That's where EasyJet goes. It goes from other places to Easy.
Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, in and out. You don't even have to don't even stay overnight. Just a one-day trip. Where are you going? Easy? Oh, yeah.
Of course you are. We're taking EasyJet, aren't you?
Yeah,
of course I am. How else would you get there?
Make sure you drink a lot of fluids. Stay hydrated. So EasyJet and Finnair flights made, quote, unplanned loops over the Atlantic last week.
That's cool.
Why? I think you know why, because you tipped me off to this story.
Yeah.
So this is one flight from Reykjavik to Manchester.
By the way, just the countries might tip you off as to why they did it. You don't even need to know the story.
Well, yeah, sure. Iceland to England, and then a flight into Finland. They got a light show for the price of their airfare.
Yeah.
So
a big light show.
Yeah, and now so I dug into this a little bit. And of course, the answer is Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, Mother Nature's light show of the north.
What I didn't know is that auroras are the result of disturbances in the magnetosphere caused by solar winds. I didn't know that the Northern Lights was a direct result of solar winds.
Desperately, I want to go see them live.
How cool to see it on a flight, though.
Mostly what you're seeing is when you see them online is a time-lapse version of them.
Yeah.
Which looks even cooler.
Yeah.
Because when you're live, they're not moving.
They're not moving as fast. Yeah, sure. Yeah. True story. The word aurora is derived from the name of the Roman goddess of the dawn, Aurora, who traveled from east to west, announcing the coming of the sun.
Do you see them at dawn? Is that when you see them at pre-dawn? You see them at night?
At night, yeah. The words borealis and australis are derived from the names of the ancient gods of the north wind and the south wind.
Okay.
So I'm just glad that it's called Aurora Borealis and not North Dawn Wind, which is what we would have ended up with.
I kind of like North Dawn.
Do you like North Dawn Wind?
I totally. That was my band in college, by the way. That was
North Dawn Winds?
The North Dawn Winds, yeah. We were good.
What'd you play? The
tuba.
Play the tuba.
Yeah, all the big bands have tuba players back then.
Totally.
Okay, up next, CJ is going to talk about removable media. I don't know why I came in today.
Strap in, folks. Hit the button. How we have moved data from device to device has changed significantly over the years. Yeah. And it's important because everything you create and pretty much everything you consume has to come from and should go to somewhere.
I retype it all in.
Do you?
Yeah, when I go from one device to the next.
I think there used to be, I actually have never fact checked this, it's true, but early on in the Prodigy days, their bridge to CompuServe email was literally a printout that somebody would type into CompuServe.
Oh, that's awful.
Isn't that terrible?
That can't be true.
I read that somewhere a long time ago. I want to talk about this now because how we still move data around today in 2023 is kind of amazing.
Okay.
But let's first talk about one of my favorite subjects, things CJ likes. Okay. That's one of my favorite subjects.
You'd think that would be one of your favorites.
It is.
You'd
it's
think
high
that
up there.
Would encompass all the things you like.
I like how you can tell the vintage of a technologist by asking them the first media they consumed. What was yours?
Punch tape.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So you back to cards?
Before cards.
Before tape?
One single strand of tape.
Oh, boy.
The computer that I learned to program on was from a B-52 bomber.
Okay.
And we were getting, there was, I think, 7 terminals.
Okay.
There was no monitor as you know it.
Sure.
It typed out on a little, like a typewriter thing.
Yeah.
It was time slicing across the 7 terminals, one computer, and it had punch tape. So every time you wanted to use it, you had to load your program in, and then you had to have it punch out a new version of your program with the changes you'd made. Yeah.
You look great for 90.
Thank you.
Like amazing.
By the way, people see the picture of the two of us for this podcast, and they always think you're my son.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Punch tape.
Yeah, punch tape. Punch tape was a big year for me.
So mine was 5 1/4 inch floppies.
Oh, well, you're much younger than I am.
Well, yeah, but still, that's pretty old in the current Gen Zer landscape.
If you had come from punch tape, 5 1/4 inch floppies were dreamland.
You're the new kid. Yeah,
I mean, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to us when they came out.
And then,
they were not double sided when they first came out. They were single sided.
Yeah.
That was still like just.
Did you have the notcher? Did you have the puncher?
Sure, of course. Everybody had it.
Everybody had a notcher. Those were the best.
Yeah.
Of course,
Explain to the listener who's not 50 what it did.
You have to go way back into the machine here. So these floppy disks had a magnetic piece of media that was inside a case. And on the 5 1/4 inch floppies, you could literally turn them over and use the other side. But you had to punch a little notch on the side of the disc.
A faux notch so it would write.
So the photosensor could write to it.
Yeah.
I have a sheet of the old 5 1/4 inch floppy write protectors. Remember the little silver tabs you put on the side?
Yeah, of course.
I have a sheet of them that I've kept around forever. Just for,
the adhesive
for no
hasn't
reason.
just died.
No, they still work. This makes me laugh. I have one USB key that I put one on because I didn't want to write over it. That's my way of remembering to not write over it. Is it's the one not to fuck with because it's got one
Hilarious.
on it.
There's no write protect on a USB key.
Some do. Some have a switch on them.
Oh, okay.
Some you can get some SD cards that have a little switch on them, so you can.
I think most of the SD cards have them. I just haven't seen it on a.
So anyway, but 3 1/2 inch floppies were sort of my favorite medium.
Oh, when they came out, of course,
because they were hard and you didn't screw them up as much.
Yeah, sure.
And I distinctly remember downloading my first copy of Linux onto 3. It was like 13 3 1/2 inch floppies.
Oh, dude, when I bought a copy of Windows, I don't remember which one, but it came on a zillion.
Probably 3.1
floppies.
Yeah. But the sound of floppies, do you remember that?
Oh, I will never get that sound, and the AOL login sound. Will never be out of my head.
One of those is way better than the other. I do think it'd be really cool to write a little like driver so that when you're writing stuff on your Apple SSD, it just plays the old Seek sounds of your floppy disk.
Also, while you're writing on your Mac, I want it to have the old Mac crash sound.
Totally. Yeah. There are these guys that program the Floppatron. Have you seen the Floppatron? I'm going to put a link in for this episode. And they have these floppy drives playing the John Williams Star Wars theme.
It's not just floppy drives. There are hard drives that are making.
Are there hard drives in it too?
Oh my gosh, it's
amazing.
The greatest thing.
It's the coolest thing ever.
There are hard drives and the little sounds the hard drives makes, which by the way you've really got to amplify because it's not a loud sound.
Sure.
Add whatever sound you need for
mic it all.
Yes, it's great.
It's amazing. Okay, I'm glad you've seen that. Do you remember floppy disk copy protection?
Oh, when you bought a program that was supposed to be copy protected.
How crazy was that?
Yeah, those
stuff?
were nonsense.
Those were total nonsense, right? That was an art.
They just mixed up all the sectors and things, and it was.
They would do all sorts of weird shit.
Yes,
they'd write stuff in between the tracks. They'd write stuff on sectors that were marked as bad. It's a crazy art. So anyway, I came across this article in Wired called "Why the Floppy Disk Just Won't Die."
Okay.
And as it turns out, floppy disks, big surprise, won't die.
Are still around.
And I'm happy to keep these.
I don't even
around.
think there's anyone who still manufactures floppy disks.
So is
that true?
That is true. Sony stopped making them in 2011.
Oh, not that long ago.
And take a guess how many they were making in their last year.
Just 10.
12 million.
Oh, wow. And they quit at 12 million.
They quit at 12 million,
which tells you how much scale was required to make that worthwhile.
Apparently it just didn't make sense. But let's take our listeners back a little bit, right? Because I think a lot of folks don't know where this came from, especially our younger Gen Zers. So this goes back to the 60s, right? IBM wanted a read-only device costing less than $200 and a medium costing less than $5. That was sort of their design goal.
Yeah.
And where they started was an 8-inch diameter flexible disk, right? Called the memory disk.
I've seen them.
Do you know how much data it held? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
I didn't either. 80 kilobytes.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then they realized pretty quickly that because the disk was bare, dirt became a serious problem.
Sure.
So they got a patent on this in June of 1972, and the floppy disk was born. And they were, I should point out to everybody that they were literally called floppies because they were floppy, which is why they were called floppies. For perspective, a picture that I took on my iPhone 13 Pro of my son playing T-ball yesterday is 5.8 megabytes.
Right.
Which means that single pic would require 73 of these 80 kilobyte floppies from the 70s. So in the Wire article, they talk about this guy in Mississippi that travels to horse shows to do custom embroidery on jackets.
Okay.
Which, by the way, sounds like an awesome
seems specialized.
gig. This is an awesome gig. So he uses this Japanese machine that he bought like 5 years ago for 18 grand, made by Tajima. And it's like sort of circa 2004 is when this thing was made. And guess what? It only takes floppy disks. Last year, Japan's digital minister declared, quote, war on floppy disks and other retro tech.
He's not wrong to do that.
Right? They had, check this out, 1,900 government procedures that still required businesses to use storage devices like CDs or floppy disks or mini disks.
My head hurts.
Isn't that amazing? Like this late in the game, they still have procedure that's using floppy.
It's amazing the people who have job security because of this or that business or government
Their job
agents.
is to run floppies.
Well, none of that, but I mean, they are the only person left who understands how to use this really antiquated piece of hardware or software.
Yep.
And so they have job security until they die. And all of them could be replaced by a Raspberry Pi.
Totally. A couple of years ago, I met with a friend of mine who's a CIO of a pretty large company that's been around since it went public in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him. I said, well, what were some of your biggest challenges? And he said to me, and I love this story. He said, I pay a guy $300,000 a year to not die.
And if that person dies, you're screwed.
So what it was their ERP they had built themselves and was running on some like IBM, AIX, whatever. This guy built it 30 years ago.
In COBOL.
And they just kept paying him for when shit would break on it
twice
a year.
Sure.
And like he lives in a house in Oregon. I've never met him. Like we just pay him to fix the things that breaks a couple times. And like he keeps trying to quit and we just keep doubling his salary. He's like, that's my biggest problem. And I'm like, you should probably fix that.
Maybe throw it out and start over.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's a bad
idea. That's a really bad idea.
So listen to this. This is crazy. And in the theme of our show, a maintenance manager at GeoSky, which is a cargo airline based in Georgia, country, not state, still uses floppy disk to apply critical updates to two 36-year-old 747s.
Oh my God.
Right? So these are 747-200s.
You already have me feeling super unsafe flying anywhere.
So these are
now
cargo planes.
Now I'm never getting on a plane.
But listen to this. When an update is released, he has to download it to guess how many 3.5-inch floppies?
50, 60, a million? I don't know.
2.
Oh, that's even worse.
I know, it's even worse. The whole fucking update is on 2 floppies.
Oh my gosh,
right?
That's even worse.
So, and he's like, there are no computers with floppy drives left. So they had to source an external one. And then the other bigger problem they have is getting discs. They can't find discs. He's like, all the later manufactured ones are garbage. So he's like, we buy them, we use them 3 times. They get errors. We have to throw them away. So, he's like, this whole operation takes like an hour for them to update, whatever the flight software on their 747s, which
that's
I think.
Awful.
And now contrast that to
retire the plane.
Don't
just retire the floppy drive. Retire the plane.
So that might be baby with the bathwater. But contrast that to your neighbor's Tesla, right? That's getting over-the-air updates of like, I don't know how big they are, but they got to be hundreds of megabytes at least. Good news. There's fewer than like 20 Boeing 747-200s still in service, and they're only cargo and military.
But they still are flying over my house.
But, well, listen, the Air Force operates 6 of them, right? 2 of them are the ones that uses Air Force One. Now, I'm assuming they've updated that.
Oh, my Lord.
I know. I'm assuming they've updated that, but that's the vintage of those planes. We've talked about this on previous episodes. I'm hoping they at least have it like running on a, double-sided or something, 3.5.
I'm sick to my stomach.
Yeah. Folks in airline maintenance and aviation engineers, if it works, they don't fuck with it. Right? It's bulletproof. So I'm not too worried about that. I just think it's amazing that there's this subculture of people that have to go buy floppy disks off eBay to keep these systems going.
Okay.
There's a couple different companies making emulators. So they're actually making floppy disk emulators so you can plug in like a USB stick to it, and then it plugs into the floppy connector on the device and it emulates the floppy drive.
This isn't better.
Oh, it is. If you want to save the device. Oh, yeah.
I don't want to save the device. That's the problem. I want to modernize. Bring the device into the modern age.
But do you care about the embroider? Like the guy doing the horse jackets in Mississippi? Who fucking cares? Like this guy right now, to get a design onto that machine, he has a laptop with a USB drive to put it onto a fucking floppy.
I'm okay with the embroidery machine because nobody's going to die if it breaks down. Well, but an airplane's a different thing.
You have, and actually this runs into this next quote.
This guy's just cheap.
Tom Persky, who runs floppydisk.com.
Yeah.
So that's taken.
I was concerned.
I know. I was very
concerned about that.
Yeah. You and I missed the fucking boat on that. This will surprise you. That's a site that specializes in sourcing and selling floppy disks. In several formats. Yeah. So his comment on this is the lifespan of some of the industrial machines that use these floppy disks can be 30 to 40 years, and some of them are only 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So he's looking at another 20 years, and you either, take this emulation path or you buy floppy disks from this guy. He sells about 1,000 disks a day.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? Yeah, that tells you how much.
I'm shocked.
I know.
And he probably gets a lot of markup out of it.
So, well, he said he used to be able to buy containers of disks, full containers, shipping containers of disks for around 7 cents each. Yeah. Right. And he's like, my current price on these.
Who's he buying them from? People who bought a lot of floppies
so
and
here's what's
just
funny.
Overstocks?
Reading some of his, I didn't talk to him, but reading some of his interviews, a lot of them, he just gets people that'll call him like, hey, we've got 2 pallets of these. Will you take them?
Yeah.
So he's just like the guy that's collecting them.
I have a bunch of unwritten CD-ROMs. Does he want those?
I think those degrade with time. Those are all.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
I don't know if those still work. But, he's selling these things for like over $1. He sells the 8-inch floppies for like $8. Take that, crypto. I don't think he's planning on waiting for the singularity to occur. This dude is 73. And he says
he's going to retire.
Well, listen, he said he's only going to work for another 5 years. And this is a direct quote. He doesn't think there's anyone, quote, foolish enough to take over the company from him.
Right.
And what he said is, I'm 50 miles out from the airport. I'm in an airplane and I've run out of gas. He said, my job is to land the plane.
That's his business. Exactly. Exactly.
Like, that's it.
Let me get you to a soft landing.
Yep. And then that's it. So these floppy disks are still a thing. And I'm sorry to make air travel even worse for you. All right. Well, up next, Jeff's going to talk about a deep fake of another kind, the Bold Glamour deep fake.
This week, TikTok has been slammed with users, amazed, shocked, and sometimes even terrified by a new filter called Bold Glamour.
That sounds like a new Dorito flavor.
Bold Glamour, the crunchiest.
Part of the Chips and Guac Act?
Yes.
The Bold Glamour.
And we've seen lots of filters already, right? Some blur your skin for a better complexion. Some make your eyes bigger. Some simply add ears of your favorite animal to your head, right? I was playing with the one that gave me a ponytail in the front of my head, and I could flip my head back. And I swear I wasted
6 hours later.
5 minutes playing with this stupid thing, thinking, why am I entertained by this?
That's how Jeff got whiplash.
What is different about Bold Glamour from other filters?
Well, yeah.
For one thing, it's really hard to tell you're looking at a filter. Lips and eyes are larger, face and nose are contoured to look slimmer, lashes are longer and thicker, especially on the outside. Under eyes are highlighted. Everything is symmetrical. The eyes are separated the perfect amount. And although TikTok isn't saying it yet, it's using AI.
Yeah, I think it's been confirmed that this is an AI.
TikTok isn't saying. So we don't know. But it sure smacks of AI. Now, we've had AI filters before. If you haven't played with the teenage look filter, this will blow your mind.
Yeah.
It's you for sure, only as a teenager. Not actually how you looked as a teenager, but how the you of now might be reimagined as a teenager. Search on it and you'll see a lot of tearful conversations people are having with their younger selves. In Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Harrison Ford is made younger with AI, but the younger Ford is actually made from images of the real younger Ford. This is not that, but it's still impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've seen AI filters before. What's different about Bold Glamour, importantly, is believability. It looks like you're looking at a real person.
And as you screw with your face and like as you're touching your eyes, it adjusts.
It adjusts quickly. Yeah. I mean, there's the trick of like putting your hand over your eye and then pulling it away quickly and the filter can't keep up. This filter keeps up.
Do you think they were sitting on this and they're just waiting like, oh, the U.S. is about to ban us? Let's give them something they can't unsee.
Something really fun.
And they just drop Bold Glamour on us?
I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of these, and they're going to be on every service that has filters.
Sure.
Once you do it, everyone will imitate it.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Everybody's going to get it. So it's not going away if you ban TikTok.
Yep.
It looks like you're looking at a real person, even though that person, or at least that version of that person, doesn't exist.
Yep.
And that becomes very clear when someone turns off the filter mid-video. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
This is mind-blowing. That beautiful AI-created face is very different from the natural face.
I think my wife feels like I did this to her after 3 years.
Quote, when I first saw it, it was shocking how incredibly real it looked compared to other filters, unquote, said Lindsay Barrow, 28, who tried the filter in a TikTok video.
But you were talking about this earlier about how is AI or just let's just call it computation at large going to change consciousness. And this is why I think it's already happening, because you already have people that are seeing themselves, and it's pardon the sort of expression here, it's breaking their brains.
Well, I hope they have no delusions that this is what they actually look like. The people I've seen who have it, who are using it, don't seem to be deluded by the fact that this is them.
You're certainly going to have folks, especially like younger kids, that are going to think this is the expectation of them.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be people are going to think this is how I should look, but I do think you're going to get people, especially younger kids, who are going to go, my God, everyone else is so much more beautiful than I am.
Yeah.
I know mine's a fake, but everybody else's.
Yeah.
You might get that.
I mean, this is like, just think about when you get the glasses or the contacts, and I can just be like, I'm going to make everybody green today. Click. And that's just your reality. It's your own version of reality.
But that's okay. You know you've changed reality. You're aware of the fact that you've changed reality. Your brain, by the way, will probably just make the adjustment.
You know what's funny about that? You say that. Have you ever worn like yellow glasses?
Sure.
And then what happens after a while?
You stop seeing the yellow.
You stop seeing the yellow, right?
Yeah,
and then you take them off. Your brain just corrects them. So you say like you're going to know everybody's green because you pick them that way. But I don't know. I think you're going to forget pretty quick. That's just going to be your version of the reality.
The problem, I think, is not when you're putting on the filter, because that's
sure.
The problem is when somebody else is putting on the filter. The filter. Exactly. Years ago, this is years ago, like when Photoshop was in the single digit, very early versions.
Sure.
I went to a demo of Photoshop where a very well-known photographer was showing us his picture of a pop star.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful picture, lovely picture. And we think, wow, he's such a good photographer. And then he showed us the original photo that the whole thing was based on. And it was jaw-droppingly different. This is like the final image was maybe inspired by the first image.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, contouring, eyes bigger, lips bigger, nose contoured, jawline pulled in. Like not even jowls just removed. The jawline actually pulled in to look correct. Absolutely mind-blowing.
And 6 hours of that guy's life has been replaced by 8 milliseconds.
He's not the one who did it. He actually was with the guy who did the Photoshop work. And yes, it was a ton of work. That's nothing that will surprise anyone who plays on Photoshop today.
That's what's crazy.
Because we're all used to that.
No, nothing will surprise any kid using TikTok or Snapchat with the filters, right?
But it was hand done back then. A human being did every move that made every choice. He had to be an amazing artist.
I hope that person is retrained into something else.
Right, because now that's the machine doing it in a split second. The pop star even told the photographer, "You photographed me how I feel I look inside."
That's amazing.
It was kind of moving, and it was also kind of sad because you don't look anything like that
at all.
Yeah,
yep.
That's a younger version of you that never actually existed.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
That level of alteration is basically what's happening with Bold Glamour. Only in 2023, it's happening, as we were saying, without human intervention at 30 frames per second in real time on the processor of an ordinary smartphone.
You look at like things that even 15, 20 years ago we didn't have and now we take for granted. For example, the first down line in football. That wasn't a thing before.
That's not a real line.
But when they draw that on, that's a bunch of processing power.
But it looks perfect. Right? You know what? I want desperately for that line. I want when they step on it, I want some of the little colored chalk to stay on their feet. So when they walk away, there's little colored footprints.
You see the footprints.
Wherever they go,
they just slowly fade away.
Yeah.
That'd actually be super cool. And you could do that, right? That could totally be done.
100%. Yeah. And it would be really cool and now especially, when you first put that thing on, you barely got the frames out in time for people to see it.
And it was a truck.
Now you get that thing out.
Some guy just plugs in his iPhone 14.
Completely effortless.
It's all powered by that.
So Bold Glamour. Let me get back to Bold Glamour. How will this affect dating? I mean, think about somebody you meet. People meet online. It won't affect dating if people meet in a bar. In the case of dating, where you're presenting yourself a certain way if this thing is so realistic, and it's going to get more realistic from here. We don't go downhill. We go uphill.
Sure.
You're going to be fooling people completely with how you look.
Yeah. But that's already been a thing with,
filters. But less so, because most filters you can tell that looks like a filter.
I've got plenty of photos of me where I'm like, I do not look like that.
How does this affect the fashion model business? I mean, think about this. There's already an agency called Deep Agency where you can have fashion models wear your clothes for whatever, and there's no real human being. That person has been generated by a computer.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're at the point where to me it totally makes sense in like a fashion show example. That's a great example of this, where forget about the people that are in the room. Let's just talk about the thing you show, whatever, online. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want, like, you're showing off the clothes. The people could just be no face.
Well, you don't have to pay them, for one thing.
Well, that's where I think where part of that goes. Like, you're just paying them for body kinematics, which, by the way, we can all do pretty well now.
And we're going to do that with actors and newscasters. And I think actually Bold Glamour is kind of cool if you're a newscaster and you want to be a little better looking than you really are. I mean, they don't give you the ability to dial it in, which would be really cool if you could just dial it in. He's had a lift right here.
There's a checkbox on Zoom called like enhance my appearance,
but it doesn't enhance. It's terrible.
Well, it doesn't make me worse.
That you can tell it's a filter, and because it's not a great filter. This one you can't tell it's a filter.
But it's just better. It's just V3. But that's going to be a thing. How is this not going to be a thing?
So people online that you see, you just never believe that that's what that person actually looks like. This is what I was saying
earlier about deep fakes. Like, what are you going to believe? You're going to believe your eyes, your ears, or you're going to believe what some nerd software tells you of, nope, Jeff's using a filter. And it's like, well, fuck you. My eyes see that he looks nice.
Right.
With my eyes. How does it affect dating? It makes it way better for the medium, the middle of the road guy and the ugly guy.
No, it doesn't make it better for them because eventually you meet in person. The whole point of dating, unless you're asexual, I guess, is mating. Yeah. Eventually we're going to be in the same room.
You wear the fucking glasses. But as long as my brain thinks you're hot, I don't care what everybody else thinks it's watching outside the glass.
Oh, see, that's kind of important, isn't it?
With the people watching?
If you're wearing the glasses and you're deluded as to what someone looks like, you also, most people care about what their friends think.
Sure.
And if their friends aren't wearing the glasses,
just fucking buy them the glasses.
I just think the shock of someone
walking
in to meet you on that first date and they look nothing like that person.
Yeah, turn the filter on.
In the filter.
Whoa, turn the filter.
Give me the filter, quick.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a whole sub-industry that is makeup artists who are teaching people to do their makeup like Bold Glamour does their face.
That's interesting.
So that in real life they can look like that Bold Glamour person.
I honestly,
that brings up another issue because then what happens if you're dating that person and now they shower and you go, wait, what?
Just do what I do. Don't shower. Problem solved.
Sure, problem solved.
I'm being honest on this. I do not see a world where this isn't a thing. So take out the double negative. This is 100% going to be a thing all over. Why would
we're all looking like,
how is Bold Glamour any different than putting on makeup? Isn't it the same thing? The point of makeup is to obscure what I look like.
By the way, I don't look any different on Bold Glamour. And I know everybody says that because they act like, I'm so beautiful. But because I have this giant beard, it doesn't do anything to the beard. It just rejects it.
It's like there's totally. Your fruit it's divided by 0.
Sorry, dude, can't do it. Can't help you.
Yeah, not that advanced. Get 3 more supercomputers and then maybe. It puts maybe in italics. It's no promises.
It just laughs.
Just laugh emoji. Sorry, I'm not a miracle worker.
Exactly.
I'm just a futuristic AI.
What do you expect me to do with that?
I'm not God. I mean, look, you already did what he was going to do, and now this is what you look like. Anyway, I'm going to make this crocodile look like a human. That I can do.
That I can do. Just no problem.
That's easy.
Sure.
Crocodile, alligator.
But you with the beard, no. Sorry.
Good job hiding your face behind that thing.
So in your mind, we truly are living or about to live in a post-reality world.
Man, I think the argument that we're already in a simulation makes sense. I really do. I know people say
but is it a simulation if you're the one wearing the glasses controlling the change versus someone else who's causing the change that you can't and you can't tell?
Well, okay.
I mean, that's the makeup case. I didn't control it. So I don't have the button where I can turn it off and go, what does she really look like? I don't have that button on my glasses.
Well, yeah, okay, but that's because you and I are peasants. Like some people have the ability to see that, to see through what
the makeup looks like. Yeah.
People that like, I'm sure a makeup artist can look at someone and go, I know what they really look like. It feels more same than different.
Technologically really cool.
Oh yeah, super cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean
literally news anchors never have to put makeup on again.
Your thought experiment about dating to me, like it absolutely is going to be a thing.
I haven't dated in like 50 years, but I can tell you that if I had to go back to the dating world, the very first thing I would want to do is tell you all the bad news.
Sure. I would want all the way up front.
And then if you stick around, great.
Yep.
But I want to drive up in a car with a dented door and see if you still have any interest in me.
This is going to be a thing.
Okay, up next, CJ is going to talk about saving time, supposedly.
Or not saving time.
As the case may be.
Hit the button. I think this is one of the absolute dumbest things that we all do together.
What's that?
As a group.
As a species.
Not as a species.
Oh.
As a group here, especially in the United States.
Okay.
Every year we do this, and we're about to do it again this weekend.
Okay.
You know what it is?
What is this? Watch the Oscars.
Wasted shit, this is going to be a twofer. It's just wasted efficiency, wasted brain power, and wasted time.
Yeah.
It's this weird hive mind idiocy thing that we do.
Well, apparently I'm in on it because I'm part of the hive.
You're definitely
part of the hive mind.
You don't have a choice.
I'm dying to know what this is.
And we do it once in March, and then we do it again in November. Daylight savings time.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Terrible fucking idea.
I have mixed feelings about this, but yes, go ahead.
Well, we're going to get into these.
I'm interested to see where you go.
Okay, so every year about 70 countries do this, right?
Well, how are there so many countries who are smartly not doing it and we still do it?
Why are people smarter than us? Is that what you're asking me?
I can tell you. I can make a guess. People who live closer to the equator don't do it.
So yes. So if you're closer to the equator, for sure, right? Yeah. Equator, tropical climates, your time of shift because the tilt of the earth doesn't really change much.
If you live up in Lapland in Finland, you don't need a You don't need an hour change. You need a 6-hour change, or a 10-hour change.
Japan, India, and China are the only major industrialized countries that do not observe some form of daylight savings time. Okay. So you still have a lot of people participating in this. And as we mentioned, all those sort of tropical countries, right? Anything that's like at lower latitudes generally do not observe this.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, because their daylight hours are similar in summer versus in winter.
Yeah.
China, by the way, as a quick aside, has had a single time zone since May of 1980. And they observe daylight savings time from 86 through 91, but they don't anymore. We had adopted an official daylight savings time during World War I.
Yeah.
Right? But like lots of shit we adopted around that time, it was unpopular and soon removed. FDR signed a temporary DST into law during World War II, but it didn't continue after the war. The general belief is that it saves energy. That's why we think that's how this started, is that it's an energy savings thing.
Okay.
Right? In 2005, do you know the U.S. extended daylight savings time? Do you know who lobbied for the extension?
Not a clue.
I thought this was fascinating. The Sporting Goods Manufacturers Association and the National Association of Convenience Stores.
Why would they care?
I'm assuming you play more sports if there's more sunshine?
Well, 7-Eleven, if they were literally only open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., you could maybe have more people come get Slurpees.
I mean, maybe.
Did that really make a difference?
No, most of them are 24 hours.
I mean, by the way, lobbying's not free. You don't do it just as a lark.
No, I don't think they were trolling them. In 1966, LBJ signed a bill that put DST to begin on the last Sunday of April and the last Sunday of October, and end the last Sunday of October, right? And then they've tweaked the dates a couple times. Reagan did this, and then Bush did this in 2005, as I just mentioned. So, and we've been on the same schedule since 2005.
Bush. We're
still on that. So the concept of daylight savings time has been proposed by several people around the world, largely independent of one another.
Okay.
Why? It's often credited to Ben Franklin, right? The idea appeared in his 1784 essay, An Economical Project. In the essay, Franklin calculates the hours spent burning candles,
the cost
and
of the
declares
candles.
an immense sum that the city of Paris might save every year by the economy of using sunshine instead of candles.
He's making a joke.
He's making a fucking joke, people. It was a satirical letter to the editor of the Journal of Paris.
Exactly. Read the piece. It's hilarious.
So it's like the fucking guy on the C note is just clowning us from the grave with his...
He's not clowning. He was trying to help us not go down that path.
But 100 years later, in 1895, George Hudson, a New Zealand entomologist, proposed shifting the clock 2 hours so, wait for it, bug hunters would have more sunlight in summer evenings. 7 years later, William Willett, a British builder, suggested shifting the clock to, quote, prevent the nation from wasting daylight. Willett made the proposal to the French Parliament.
Were we all sleeping in? What was the problem?
Yeah, so he made the proposal to the French Parliament and advocated for it till his death in 1915. He conceived it in 1905 during a pre-breakfast ride when he observed how many Londoners slept through a large part of the summer day. He was an avid golfer, and he disliked cutting short his round at dusk. So this is a guy who didn't want his fucking round to end. And
I get that. That makes sense.
Let's change the clocks.
Sure. No, I'm all for that.
Because that's the simple solution.
Right.
So the idea of extending daylight hours would cut
there
energy
must have
consumption.
been some reason, some real beneficial reason for this, other than bug hunting and golfing.
The presumption is if you have people using daylight during the regular hours, right? Because we don't.
But why can't we just all shift our
the fucking
schedule
regular hours? That's what I've been saying for 100 years. Just go like in the summer months, we're going to start school at 9 instead of 8.
Right. Is that hard?
You know, in agrarian society, their daily routine is based on the sunlight because it has to be.
Yeah.
Right. Which totally makes sense. And now many farmers oppose DST, right? Especially, listen to this, dairy farmers, because the milking patterns of their cows do not change with time.
Of course not.
So we just got to get all the cows Apple Watches.
Is that what they need?
Just get every cow an Apple Watch and then they'll know. Environmental economist Henrik Wolff of the University of Washington.
What is an environmental economist?
Well, I'm going to find out. He's the same scientist who studied the morning-evening environment offset, found everywhere there is air conditioning, our evidence suggests that daylight savings is a loser.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
That's very interesting.
So in 2007, it was a study that said that energy savings in cooler climates were offset by increased demand for cooling in warm climates.
Oh, totally get that.
Which totally makes sense,
yeah, 100%
right? So
get that.
You're just moving the problem around,
right.
Not to mention all the inefficiency that you're creating. So in 2010, a Utah State economist, another William Schuckart II, suggested that turning clocks forward and backward each year cost Americans about $1.7 billion of lost opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Now, his math on this was fascinating. His calculation assumed that each person over 18 spent about 10 minutes changing clocks instead of doing something else more productive. That was his math. His math was like population over 18 times 10 minutes times whatever, $45 an hour.
Hilarious.
Boom. There's the answer.
That's funny.
As of 2013, only 37% of Americans believe DST to be worth the hassle. In 2023, we still have 72 countries using DST. In 2014, there were 81.
Okay.
So it's going in the right direction, right? People are getting out of this slowly. Yeah. But here's what's crazy is that it's constantly changing. And this is what drives me mad. Where I really discovered my hate for daylight savings time was when I was organizing meetings across different countries, especially across different hemispheres.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because here's why. We change when we go into DST and out of DST is different across countries.
Right.
And then where you jump forward or back is different on the hemispheres.
Yeah.
Right? Because summer and winter are different.
Right.
So if you just simply send me a recurring meeting every Monday to meet to talk about nonsense production, and I'm sitting in Australia, and you route it in Pacific time because you're in Los Angeles.
Sure.
From my perspective, that time of day will change 4 times across the year. When your time change hits, when my time change hits, and then when it unravels.
Right.
That is fucking madness, which is why my recommendation, listener, if you were doing this and scheduling international meetings, route it in UTC, because then it will only change when your time zone changes, which you're expecting, not when rando Australia time zone changes. I know this, if you haven't experienced this problem, it probably doesn't make sense, but it absolutely wreaks havoc on your calendar.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a recurring 10 a.m. every Monday, that's going to move around a couple hours.
Sure.
But then you've got an 11 a.m. that doesn't move around. They step on each other.
Right.
It's terrible. But listen to this. It gets worse. We actually have worse examples in history, and I didn't know any of these until I started researching this. So ancient civilizations adjusted their daily schedules to the sun more flexibly than DST does. They would,
not by the hour.
They'd shorten the hour or lengthen the hour.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? So they would basically take
if you
daylight.
live by a sundial, it's less of an issue.
Yes, exactly. They would take daylight and they would basically make 12 hours daytime.
Sure.
No matter how long it was.
Or when it started, when it ended.
So the Romans did this with water clocks, and they had different scales for different months of the year. And at Rome's latitude, the third hour from sunrise started at 9:02 solar time and lasted 44 minutes in the winter solstice. But in the summer solstice, it was 75 minutes long.
Wow.
So listen to this.
Yeah.
The Uniform Time Act of 1966 permits states to opt out of DST, which is what Arizona has done.
Okay.
And they can observe permanent standard time.
Okay.
But it does not permit.
It's the wrong one.
Exactly. It does not permit permanent DST.
Right. Which makes more sense.
Which is what Rubio is trying to do. Florida Senator Marco Rubio is trying to promote changing federal law to implement permanent DST.
What's amazing is Florida is, if not our southernmost state,
could benefit the least from it.
Exactly. Florida gets the least benefit from this.
What you would argue that because they have to deal with DST, they're feeling the most impact because
the most pain from it. Yeah.
So they actually, I guess, if you really think this through, they might get the most benefit from it because they get the least benefit from DST.
Yeah.
So not doing it makes it the best for them.
Yeah.
Just because I knew we're gonna have this huge enjoyment from movable media, I wanted to go to time zones.
Amazing. We have to get out of here, but quickly before we do, have you seen or read anything good lately?
My topics were floppy disks and DST. Do you think I read anything interesting? I'm pretty sure we all know the answer is no.
You chose them. They weren't assigned.
No, they chose me.
I have a good show called The Reluctant Traveler. Have you seen this?
No.
I know I haven't plugged Apple TV yet this minute.
Sure.
But allow me to now.
Sure. Tim, you listening?
Eugene Levy is the Reluctant Traveler. What happened was the Apple executives wanted to make a show. I don't know what to compare it to. Anthony Bourdain or Phil Rosenthal's show. They wanted to make a travel show and they love Eugene Levy. So they called him up and they said, let's do this travel show. This will be great. I would love this if you would be the host of the travel show, right? You're a funny guy. This would be a lot of fun. And Eugene Levy said, I don't like to travel. This is not
small problem.
Yeah, this is not something in my world. I like to golf. Yep. I like to be at home with my family.
Yep.
Travel, it's just not my thing.
Yep.
And they said, oh, great. That's the show.
I'm sorry. It sounded like you said that's the show.
Yeah.
My phone's breaking up.
And so, of course, I'm sure had to up the money to eventually get him.
Of course.
But it's great.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They take him places where he is extremely uncomfortable. They take him places that are super hot and super cold and places you would never. You want to go ice bathing in the nude in Finland. I mean,
this is great.
And it's really fun. I haven't seen all the episodes, but the first 2, so much fun.
I just started listening to him on Smartless, and he sounds fantastic. So I'm looking forward to this. I'll check this out.
The Reluctant Traveler, it's really good. That's the episode.
Thank you for joining us for all this nonsense, a truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.production. I'm CJ Little.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple or Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Podcastindex.org. Special thanks to our floor director, Josh Deutsch.
Thanks, Josh. We'll be here now every Thursday morning, not Wednesdays, for more nonsense. Please join us.